Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. The instant Ellie's fingers brushed the dragon's eyelid, a ripple ran through time. Healing legendary creatures definitely wasn't on the syllabus of her half-finished biology course. 23 years had brutally demonstrated that life laughed at meticulously laid plans, and fate possessed a deeply quirky sense of humor, just like her grandma. "Easy now, child," Ivy murmured, her age-spotted hand clutching the age-old mortar where she prepared the remedy. "Dragons despise nervousness." "And you're a dragon expert, are you?" Ellie breathed, forcing her trembling hand to spread the emerald potion across the immense, armored lid. The dragon's breath, a wave of heat scented with cinnamon and smoldering iron, washed over her arm in steady pulses. Ivy chuckled, a dry, knowing sound. "More than you imagine, darling." The earth shuddered just past midnight on Ivy's back 40, unlike any Wednesday in quiet Oregon. A dragon, if that's what the wounded thing truly was, had fallen from the sky. Ellie's phone screamed with a minor seismic alert, but by the time they reached the smoking scar on the land, dawn painted the pines. Not a meteor, but a wrecked vessel cradling a being ripped from myth, or more likely, the stars. 30 feet of shimmering life, snout to tail, scales that bled from deep emerald to stormy blue with every shift of light. Wings, torn but vast, stretched at least 40 feet. But it was its eyes that stole your breath. Enormous milky orbs that somehow mirrored the vast cosmos. Eyes that in broken, halting words confessed to a profound darkness. "It's suffering," Grandma Ivy declared, her voice unsettlingly sure after a wary inspection. "Blind as a bat, I reckon." Most folks would have rung the authorities instantly. Ellie's hand instinctively went for her phone, but Ivy halted her with a soft touch. "Some arrivals don't need announcements, child," she murmured knowingly, "especially those burdened by problems needing our immediate care." So instead of broadcasting news of the downed alien dragon in their yard, they were applying Grandma Ivy's ancient eye salve, a recipe whispered through 5 generations of women, historically for human cataracts and animal eye ailments. "There," Ellie breathed, finishing the application. The dragon's vast eyelid fluttered beneath her fingers, the feel both like worn leather and smooth silk. "That's the last of it." A low rumble echoed through the barn, rattling Ivy's herbal tinctures on the workbench. The dragon shifted its colossal head, and Ellie fought the urge to retreat. Slowly, the dinner plate-sized eye opened, the pupil shrinking from a wide oval to a sharp slit as it adjusted to the light filtering through the barn's windows. "Kindness graces you, small ones," the dragon intoned, its voice not in the air, but resonating inside their minds, like warm liquid sunlight filling their thoughts. "My sight is restored." Ellie nearly fumbled the dropper she held. You can speak in our minds?" "A simple matter of neural convergence," the dragon responded, as if telepathy were mere common conversation. "Your grandmother understands." Ellie whirled to Ivy, who wore a peaceful smile, utterly unfazed by the telepathic dragon. "Grandma?" Ellie questioned, her voice rising. "What in the world is happening?" Ivy wiped her hands on her worn floral apron. "I believe we've just aided a pathfinder for the Great Dragon Coalition, if I'm not far off." She turned to the dragon. "You're a bit ahead of schedule, aren't you? The celestial calendar said 28 years hence." The dragon's immense eye blinked deliberately. "Navigational deviation. Cosmic particulate storm. Deeply regrettable." Its inner voice resonated with a touch of regret, yet a glimmer of fate. Ellie's gaze darted between her grandmother and the alien dragon, a sense of profound disconnect washing over her, as if she'd skipped volumes of a critical story. "You two know each other?" "Not intimately," Ivy responded, neatly stowing her herbs with well-honed skill. "But your grandfather was far more than just a rancher, my dear. He possessed varied interests." Addressing the dragon, Ivy continued. I've identified transmission tech within your downed vessel. Will your people be initiating a search? The dragon's reptilian gaze sharpened, then relaxed. Indeed. The collective will have registered my absence. Standard procedure demands a recovery mission within your solar rotation. A search party, Ellie echoed, her voice barely audible. Of dragons? The Mazrath fleet, the dragon corrected. A mere 13 vessels, a small detachment. Ellie's legs threatened to buckle. 13 ships is small? A low, resonant hum, possibly laughter, emanated from the dragon. For standard retrieval protocols? Utterly insignificant. Ivy squeezed Ellie's arm reassuringly. Well then, we'd best expedite your repairs before your companions arrive. Ellie, retrieve the arnica, would you? For those torn wing surfaces. As Ellie moved, robotically, toward the cabinet, still reeling from the casual unveiling of her grandmother's apparent familiarity with interstellar dragon societies, the dragon's silent voice echoed only to her. Your compassion will not be forgotten, Ellie of Earth, it declared. Just a family remedy, she mumbled. Nothing extraordinary. A glint flickered in the dragon's eye. Across 78 worlds, spanning 12 galaxies, conflicts have ignited over substances far less potent. Your nothing extraordinary possesses a value beyond your perception. It was then that a chilling premonition coiled in Ellie's stomach. The simple kindness she'd offered was swelling into something exponentially intricate. Little did she realize the true depth of the complications that would engulf her within a mere 72 hours. The dragon, self-proclaimed as Vexalathrix, although it, having graciously conceded to a shorter stay, Vex devoted a full day to regaining strength within Ivy's humble barn. By the following morning, its mighty wings showed signs of mending, and its gaze sharpened with newfound clarity. The curative power of your elixir is truly astonishing, Vex conveyed telepathically, just as Ellie presented a breakfast of 12 chickens and 3 goats, reluctantly offered by Ivy from her dwindling herd. Neural pathways are not simply mended, but demonstrably improved. That'd be the foxglove, Ivy remarked with a touch of pride, perched atop an upturned milk crate, diligently knitting what seemed to be a sweater fit for a giant. It's been a family secret since my great-great-grandmother's time. Ellie, meanwhile, stared in spellbound dread as Vex effortlessly devoured a goat in 2 calculated bites. Grandma, how can you be so composed? There's a dragon, an alien dragon eating our animals in the barn, and you're knitting like it's any other Tuesday. It's Wednesday, Ivy corrected, her needles clicking with rhythmic precision. And this isn't my first encounter with the extraterrestrial. Your grandfather drew quite an interesting group. Grandfather was involved with aliens? Ellie blurted out, incredulous. Well, involved might be a stretch, Ivy countered, her needles never faltering. More like cosmically intertwined. The Hadwells have always had a flair for finding themselves at the right, or perhaps the wrong, place at the right time. Before Ellie could probe further, Vex raised its immense head, announcing, I have contacted the collective. A rescue squadron has been deployed. That's wonderful, Ellie offered cautiously. Indeed, Vex affirmed, though there is a slight complication. Ivy's knitting needles came to an abrupt halt. What sort of complication? I may have emphasized the exceptional nature of your restorative remedy, Vex confessed. The High Conclave has expressed considerable interest. Interest? Ivy echoed, her voice steely. What kind of interest are we discussing? Vex's tail twitched nervously, sending a stack of hay bales tumbling. The collective has been grappling with a D. For 3 centuries, a devastating eye disease has plagued them, defying our top bioengineers, Ellie recited, her voice heavy. They claim your simple herbal concoction achieved what generations of scientists couldn't. She groaned, burying her face in her hands. You told them my people, my grandmother, had a cure for their widespread blindness? Not quite, Vex corrected smoothly. I explained that your grandmother's granddaughter administered a cure for my blindness, which is entirely factual. Oh, stars, Ellie whispered, mortified. So now they think I'm some sort of miracle worker? The term they employ translates roughly to sight-bringer, Vex offered helpfully. There might also have been subtle allusions to prophecies and destined meetings. Ivy resumed her knitting with renewed energy, needles clicking furiously. Well, that's it then, Ellie exclaimed. How many ships did you say were initially coming? 13, Vex answered. However, following my report, the number is closer to 13,000. The barn fell silent, save for the anxious scratching of a chicken in the straw. 13,000? Ellie repeated, her voice drained of color. A diplomatic and scientific delegation of modest size, Vex clarified reassuringly. They've graciously agreed to remain in geostationary orbit rather than landing en masse to minimize alarming your species. How considerate, Ivy muttered dryly. The advance team should arrive in approximately... Vex paused, his massive eye swiveling upward in calculation. 62 of your hours. 2.5 days, Ellie translated mechanically. Grandma, what are we going to do? We can't possibly host 13,000 space dragons. Of course not, Ivy agreed, placing her knitting aside decisively. First, we must prepare the south pasture for the landing party. And darling, you absolutely must find something appropriate to wear. One simply cannot greet an alien delegation in jeans with a hole in the knee. Ellie gazed at her grandmother, a chilling thought creeping in. Was her whole family touched by madness? Grandma, shouldn't we alert someone? The authorities, the army, NASA, anyone? Ivy's gaze sharpened, her eyes piercing. And what outcome do you envision, child? Armed forces, beings beyond our grasp, misinterpretations blooming into sheer terror. Absolutely not. Your grandfather witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of that very path. And enough is enough. For generations, the Hadwells had managed peculiar visitors, undisturbed by any governing body. Ivy wouldn't permit that to change now. Rising, she smoothed her apron, scattering bits of straw. Sweetheart, be a dear and check the attic. There's a trunk with your grandfather's journals. See if you can find anything about the Draconic Collective or the Mazarath. Ellie, still shaken by the morning's incredible revelations, began walking toward the old house. Vex's mental voice touched her thoughts again. Your grandmother is an extraordinary human, the dragon noted. You have no idea, Ellie responded silently. On the contrary, came the amused reply. I suspect she may be precisely why my guidance system glitched at this exact spot. Ellie froze. Are you saying your crash wasn't an accident? But Vex had vanished from her mind, leaving only draconic amusement and the unnerving feeling that she was a pawn in something far grander than a mere crash. The trunk in the attic held 7 journals filled with Grandfather Hadwell's cramped script, alongside diagrams and formulas, a device resembling a star chart projector, and a small box labeled in faded letters, "In case of Mazarath." Ellie brought everything to the kitchen table, where Ivy was composing a shopping list, as if preparing for brunch, not an extraterrestrial summit. Found this, Ellie announced, placing the box before her grandmother. Also, were you aware that Grandfather kept detailed records on 16 different alien species? Only 16? Ivy seemed surprised. He must have filed the others elsewhere. Your grandfather was always a meticulous record keeper. Ellie massaged her temples. Grandma, my whole reality is collapsing. Could you maybe react with a bit more shock to the fact that Grandpa was apparently some kind of alien ambassador? Ivy corrected. Ivy delicately opened the ancient box. The Hadwells have been watchers for ages. Your grandfather simply meticulously documented their visits. She retrieved a smooth metallic ovoid. Ah, excellent. He kept it safe. This, she said, is a universal translator. Far more reliable than telepathy for intricate talks and easier on the mind. Ivy turned it over in her hand. We'll absolutely need this when the delegation gets here. Ellie sank heavily into a chair. This is real, isn't it? Indeed, Ivy confirmed. And we have a lot to do. Your grandfather's research indicates the Mazarath appreciate meaningful gestures. A formal greeting is key. A welcome for 13,000 alien dragons who believe I'm a legendary healer. Ellie gave a shaky laugh. What on earth could go wrong? Ivy's face softened with empathy. I understand your anxiety, love, but the cosmos is vast beyond imagining, filled with both miracles and dangers. Often the line between them is simple kindness. I'm betting most world-changing meetings don't hinge on eye drops, Ellie mumbled. You'd be shocked, Ivy said, with a hint of mystery. Now assist me with this inventory. We must gather more botanicals for demonstrations, and the West Pasture must be ready for their arrival. As the next 36 hours unfolded, consumed by preparations, Ellie slowly uncovered the breathtaking scope of her family's legacy. The Hadwells, it appeared, had discreetly overseen extraterrestrial contacts since the dawn of the 19th century, when her foremother, Prudence Hadwell, aided a stranded celestial being return home. Since then, the family had kept to themselves, functioning as covert first responders, intermediaries, and, sometimes, as her grandmother had, medical personnel for various interstellar travelers. Their isolated farm, situated above a point her grandfather termed a cosmic nexus, appeared to attract more than its fair share of visitors. But why keep it hidden? Ellie finally asked. So why keep it quiet while we arrange the south field? Lai inquired, carefully positioning the welcoming stones according to her grandfather's meticulous plan. Why not simply announce it to everyone? Ivy gazed out over the fields, a hint of sadness in her eyes. The world wasn't prepared then, darling, and honestly, it's still not fully ready now. Your grandfather always felt, and I strongly believe, that official contact should unfold naturally, in its own appointed hour, not because some gossiping farm wife shared tales with the press. But 13,000 starships, Grandma, that's hardly a secret. Indeed, Ivy murmured, a sigh escaping her lips. This changes everything irrevocably. Perhaps the moment has finally come. The evening prior to the momentous arrival, Ellie found herself restless, unable to find solace in sleep. She retreated to the porch swing, her gaze drawn upwards to the vast expanse of stars, desperately seeking to identify which distant pinpricks of light concealed approaching interstellar vessels. Vex, leaving behind the familiar comforts of the barn, had taken up a position on the edge of the woods, its imposing silhouette barely discernible in the shadows, except for the occasional glint of scales as it shifted its weight under the watchful moon. Anxious, the dragon's thoughts resonated within her mind. Utterly terrified, Ellie confessed in return. I'm no diplomat, no sage, no healer. I'm simply a me. But it was simply you who gave me back my sight, Vex reminded her gently. The universe, at times, demands nothing more than an act of kindness, a flicker of compassion at the perfect moment. But what if I fail? What if they arrive and find me lacking, disillusioned by the reality of who I am? The dragon paused, a heavy silence filling the air between them. Among my kind, we share a proverb. The hatchling cannot predict the winds it will soar through. Your destiny is unfolding before you, Ellie Hadwell. All that remains is for you to embrace it, summoning that same fearless spirit you showed when you offered solace to a wounded dragon. That wasn't courage, Ellie protested weakly. That was merely a case of not thinking things through properly. Vex's amusement filled her mind, a gentle ripple of laughter. An often underestimated strength, nevertheless. As dawn painted the sky with hues of morning on the third day since Vex descended, Ellie stood beside her grandmother in the heart of the South Field. Dressed in their finest, hope blossomed in their hearts. Ivy wore her flowered church dress, a splash of color against the muted landscape, while Ellie donned her mother's cherished blue blouse and skirt, a poignant reminder of love. Tucked safely within Ivy's pocket rested the translator egg, its display subtly showcasing the comforting herbal remedy, aloe, a silent promise of healing. The floral offering, disassembled beside its constituent greenery, rested on a folding table. Vex, wings spread in a display it termed formal introduction, stood just behind. "Remember," Ivy breathed, her voice low. "Speak clearly, no sudden moves. Dragons appreciate tradition." "Anything else, Elle?" she questioned, Ellie striving for composure. "Just, I'm proud of you, girl," Ivy confessed. Before Ellie could answer, the heavens transformed. Gone was the tranquil blue of the June morning, replaced by a breathtaking armada. Hundreds of ships filled the visible sky. Surely thousands more lurked beyond. Just as Vex had cautioned, these weren't the polished metal constructs of human imagination. They seemed organic, colossal, dragon-like. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed across hulls, clad not in metal, but what appeared to be scales. The flagship, dwarfing the others, descended with impossible grace for something the size of a small building. It floated above the pasture, then settled onto the grass, leaving no trace of impact. Its hull shimmered with iridescent light, mirroring Vex's own scales. A doorway opened in its side, revealing 3 figures unmistakably of Vex's race, yet distinct in size and coloration. The lead dragon, smaller than Vex, but adorned with intricate gold patterns on scales of deepest blue, advanced deliberately. Vex bowed its head low. "Greetings, emissary." Its mental voice resonated within them. "I present Ivy Hadwell, keeper of Earth Wisdom, and her granddaughter, Ellie Hadwell, the one who restored my sight." Ivy stepped forward, the translator egg in her hand glowing faintly blue. "Welcome, honored guests," she began. "The Mazarath Collective honors Earth with its presence," the High Emissary proclaimed, its voice resonating with unshakable composure. Amber eyes, so unlike Vex's verdant gaze, locked first on Ivy, then settled on Ellie, an unnerving intensity that triggered an urge to retreat. Yet Ellie stood firm, guided by her grandmother's wisdom. "Sightbringer," the emissary voiced, its true sound a deep, harmonic vibration rendered into English by the translator egg. "Your youth is unexpected." Ellie swallowed, clearing her throat. "I'm merely someone who offered assistance to another. Nothing grand." The emissary inclined its head. "Humility graces you, an unforeseen yet pleasant quality." Turning to Ivy, it inquired, "Your awareness of our arrival hints at earlier relations. Elaborate." "My deceased husband meticulously chronicled encounters with your people," Ivy responded steadily. "The Hadwells pride themselves on welcoming cosmic travelers." "Hadwell, the second dragon," rumbled the second dragon, its scales shimmering with interwoven patterns of emerald and bronze. "We acknowledge the designation, a lineage to observe." The third dragon, diminutive yet radiating sharp awareness, circled the display table, its attention captured by the herbal remedy. "This cure," it mused, "rudimentary technology, yet it triumphs where our sophisticated approaches faltered. A perplexing paradox." "Sometimes the ancient paths yield the finest results," Ivy countered, a touch of pride lacing her words. "Particularly when tending to living systems." The High Emissary's amber gaze returned to Ellie. "You will now demonstrate its administration?" It was an order, not an invitation. Ellie glanced at her grandmother, who offered a subtle affirmation. "Certainly," she responded, moving toward the table. "But allow me to emphasize, this is a family formulation. I possess no formal medical or scientific training." "Nevertheless, you achieved success where our bioengineers have labored fruitlessly for 3 centuries, the bronze and green dragon pointed out, its mental tone hinting at professional envy. With hands that trembled slightly, Ellie meticulously prepared a fresh batch of the remedy, narrating each phase of the process. The dragons observed, their gazes deeply unsettling, brief knowing looks passing between them. As her words concluded, the High Emissary signaled toward I. Her own gaze fell on Ellie. A hesitation lingered. "Are your eyes truly weakened?" The emissary then admitted, "This remedy yields the most remarkable results with particular maladies." A genuine worry. "Zerathon, come forward," he commanded gently. The smallest dragon, Zerathon, did as asked. One eye was shrouded in a milky haze, just like Vex's affliction. Summoning newfound courage, Ellie dipped the dropper into the newly mixed solution, her resolve stronger than her fear. Approaching the dragon, it lowered its head. Its scales pulsed with warmth, and its breath carried that familiar cinnamon metallic aroma. "This may briefly sting," she gently warned, carefully dripping the verdant liquid onto the clouded eye. Zerathon remained perfectly still, betraying no discomfort. Ellie stepped back, breathless. The dragon blinked, then tilted its head, gazing about in utter amazement. "Sight is restored," it declared. "Astonishing!" The emissary and the copper-green dragon exchanged looks, a shared wonder passing between them. "The process is repeatable," the emissary pronounced, his tone bordering reverence. "The old stories weren't just stories." "Stories?" Ellie asked, bewildered. "What are you talking about?" The emissary straightened. "In the collective's most ancient texts lies a legend. When the Mazarath eyes darken, deliverance shall come from a world unseen. Life originated in water, but learned to thrive through fire. Your Earth perfectly matches this," the emissary stated. "Life evolved in your oceans and weathered firestorms and extinction events," Vex added. "That brought about our doom." "You crashed here because of a prophecy?" Ellie gasped. "My arrival was born of calculation, celestial mechanics, and chance," Vex corrected. "The prophecy is a fortunate alignment." Turning to Ivy, the copper-green dragon spoke. "These ingredients, could they occur here?" "Most grow freely," Ivy responded. "A few are cultivated, but all are native to Earth." "Then," the emissary declared, "we have discovered what we sought." For 3 long centuries, the High Emissary had spoken, its voice resonating with ancient power. Now came the crucial inquiry. What did Earth truly yearn for in return? Suddenly, a chilling realization washed over Ellie, altering everything. This was far more than a mere medical discussion. This was humanity's first, monumental encounter, a pivotal moment with profound global ramifications. And she and her grandmother were thrust into the unbelievable role of orchestrating humanity's inaugural interstellar bargain. "Perhaps," Ivy suggested gently, her tone measured, "we might deliberate over tea. These matters of diplomacy often flow more smoothly with a bit of refreshment." The emissary blinked, its massive eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "A shared right of sustenance to foster mutual trust, an agreeable custom." It turned towards the vessel, its voice booming. "The delegation shall accompany us." "Delegation?" Ellie murmured, a flicker of panic in her voice as they made their way toward the farmhouse. "Just how many are we talking about?" "Oh, I wouldn't anticipate too many," Ivy replied with a casual air that belied the situation's gravity. "Dragons are creatures of habit and protocol, so it will most likely only be the Council of 7. 7 dragons, settling down for tea in their humble kitchen? Perhaps, Ivy conceded, a hint of amusement in her eyes. We shall use the front lawn. Minimizes the risk of their tails accidentally demolishing our beloved furniture. As they walked, Ellie spotted an anomaly in the sky above the farm, a gleaming shimmer, like intensified heat waves, but perfectly even, forming a dome encompassing the entire area. A privacy field, Vex said smoothly, noting her curious expression. A common precaution for delicate discussions. Rest assured, your global surveillance won't register anything out of the ordinary. How accommodating, Ellie remarked, a touch of awe mingling with apprehension as she wondered just how far the depths of Mazarath technology stretched. And so it began, the most bizarre and unprecedented diplomatic gathering in Earth's history, witnessed by a grandmother, her granddaughter, and 7 colossal dragon-like beings from across the vast expanse of the cosmos. The majestic dragons delicately tasted the tea from oversized bowls, hastily commandeered from Ivy's garden. They discussed cosmic diplomacy, trade agreements among stars, and the subtle artistry of growing herbs, their voices resonating with an otherworldly calm. Your kind is new to the cosmos, yet holds such potential. The High AGH emissary revealed the collective had observed Earth's unfolding story with profound interest. That sounds unnerving, Ellie breathed, a tremor in her voice. Only observation, the emissary soothed. Cosmic laws forbid direct interference. Until now. Ivy calmly refilled her teacup. And now means? The copper-green dragon, Biomancer Thielvanni, elaborated, a delicate exchange. Medical secrets for medical wonders. Your herbal lore for our restorative technologies. Carefully managed progress, shielding you from disruption. Ellie's gaze sharpened. And who judges benefit versus disruption? The dragons exchanged a silent, almost approving look. A wise question, the High Emissary conceded. A shared council. Hadwell minds with Mazarath Council, and neutralize from the Concord. There's a galactic Concord? Ellie gasped. Relatively new, Vex replied. Just 23 millennia in your count. Still navigating the red tape. Ivy set down her cup, the porcelain clinking softly. And should we refuse this exchange? A palpable tension filled the air. That would be regrettable, the emissary warned, choosing his words with care. The collective has revered Earth from afar, but our desperation is real. Those 13,000 ships mirror a colossal expense. Empty-handed return would ignite dissent. It wasn't outright malice, but Ellie understood the weight. Her mind raced. What if we offered an alternative? One that honored Earth's fragile growth while meeting your urgent needs? All eyes fixed on her, dragon and human alike. The emissary inhaled deeply. Explain, he commanded. Ellie outlined her idea. A small, concealed Mazarath lab hidden on Hadwell land, where dragon scholars could collaborate with Ivy, perfecting the eye remedy for large-scale production. In return, these magnificent dragons pledged to deliver specific medical breakthroughs, cures for existing diseases, offering hope where it was once lost. Though humanity faces ailments we cannot yet mend, we offer advancement subtly, using your own medical avenues to prevent chaos. No weapons, no energy surpassing your independent progress, and most crucially, no revelation of our existence until Earth embraces the shift, she finished. The dragons resonated with deep murmurs, inaudible to the translator. At last, the lead emissary addressed Ellie. Your vision shines, young Ellie Hadwell. The collective consents, with one condition. You become our central bridge between our civilizations. Me? Ellie whispered, her voice trembling. But I'm nobody. I'm not equipped for this. Zarathan offered a serene smile. You gifted sight to the sightless. You crafted a balanced agreement, honoring the needs of all. What finer attributes could one seek? But my life, Ellie stammered. My college, my ambitions. And you shall retain them all, the emissary soothed, a hint of cosmic power in their tone. With several advancements, the collective offers learning beyond your world's reach. Ivy's warm hand enclosed Ellie's. It's overwhelming, darling. But remember your grandfather's words. When fortune calls, look for tentacles before you answer. Ellie finished, almost by instinct. I don't think he expected it to be scales. Oh, sweetheart, Ivy's eyes sparkled. I believe he saw this precisely. Why else keep such careful notes about the Mazarath? The weight of the words crashed over Ellie. She gazed at the scene. 7 ageless, mighty beings, at ease with their tea in her grandmother's garden. Vex, who had crashed into her life days prior. And Ivy, who, it seemed, had orchestrated this meeting for ages. It was a blend of dread, intense excitement, and profound unreality. Yet somewhere deep inside, it felt correct. Everything that had happened to her had somehow guided her to this place, this cosmic crossroads. Very well, she responded, a newfound resolve hardening her voice. I accept the pact, but I have stipulations. The towering emissary tilted its head in acknowledgement. State your terms. First, Ellie declared, my grandmother is an integral partner in this endeavor. Her vast knowledge is the bedrock upon which our work is built. Secondly, she continued, we established sacred boundaries and procedures from the start. This remains her farm, our sanctuary. Ellie paused, stealing her gaze. Finally, she said, I want to be more than a subject. I desire to delve into your civilization, your worlds, your scientific marvels. I ask for genuine reciprocity. Ambitious demands. The emissary's mental tone hinted at approval. Agreed. With disarming ease, the dragon acknowledged her wishes. Opportunity flows in both directions, Ellie Hadwell. Your unique perspective holds untold value to us, perhaps exceeding even our own knowledge. As the agreement crystallized, etched into the dragon's advanced data systems, and meticulously penned onto paper and signed by all, at Ivy's insistence, Ellie found herself beside Vex, watching the majestic dragons prepare to leave. You engineered this, didn't you? She murmured, her voice barely audible. The crash, the blindness, all of it. Amusement danced in Vex's mental voice. I merely guided the path toward probability. The rest sprang from your heart. I simply offered a gentle touch. Clear vision, unwavering faith, small gestures, monumental consequences. Vex's massive eye, now brilliantly clear, locked onto hers. The fate of existence hangs on threads such as these. The High Emissary and its delegation ascended, vowing to return within days to construct their research facility. Most of their fleet vanished, preserving the illusion of normalcy above Earth, with only 3 Guardian ships lingering in orbit as liaisons. As the shimmering veil of the privacy field dissolved, restoring the farm to its familiar charm, Ivy and Ellie stood on the porch, gazing at the vast blue canvas above. Well, Ivy sighed after a long pause, that was significantly smoother than the time your grandfather unwittingly offended the Proxima Centauri ambassador by offering it milk. Ellie chuckled. The weight of the last 3 days lifted, shattering as Ellie asked, her voice thick with emotion. Grandma, why this silence? Why didn't you ever share the truth about grandfather, the visitors, our family's extraordinary connections? Ivy's loving, time-worn hand gently squeezed Ellie's arm. Some truths, she whispered, must be experienced to be understood. Would you truly have accepted it all had I tried to explain before Vex appeared? Perhaps not, child. Ivy's gaze softened. Your grandfather and I decided each Hadwell must discover their celestial destiny in their own time. Your mother sought a different path. And now, darling, you've found yours. Ellie's eyes swept over the familiar farm, the seemingly ordinary fields and woods now unveiled as the clandestine heart of humanity's initial alien bond, all sparked by a family's simple eye drops and a tender act towards a wounded being. So what awaits us? She questioned softly. A warm smile graced Ivy's face, her eyes sparkling with the knowing gleam of someone intimately acquainted with the vast universe. Now, my dear, she chuckled, we brew more tea. We'll certainly need it. In the distance, Vex's colossal form ascended, circling the farmhouse in what felt like a gracious farewell before disappearing into the woods, where its mended vessel awaited. Soon, it would be joined by its planet's finest minds, embarking on a subtle but profound shift that would forever redefine humanity's fate. All because Ellie had touched a dragon's eye, and time had momentarily stumbled.